Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joe Donlin in the News Nation newsroom. There is a situation unfolding in the Milwaukee area that we wanted to bring you up to date on. An active shooter. This is happening at a mall west of downtown Milwaukee. You were looking at aerial photos right now of the scene. This is happening just west, actually, of Wauwatosa, which is a suburb west of Milwaukee. And we can tell you, I want to just first of all read the latest information for you from the Wauwatosa mayor, who says the police department there is currently involved in an active shooter incident at Mayfair Mall in Wauwatosa. Through the Wauwatosa Police Department's public information officer, more information will be released as soon as it becomes available and is confirmed. Just to sidestep from this statement for just a second, understand this is a very fluid situation that started about an hour and 15 minutes ago, and much of the information has been spotty coming in. Some of it has not been confirmed, other than what I will continue reading here now from the mayor, which is that several injured victims have and are being transported from the north end of the Macy's department store in the Mayfair Mall. None of the victims' injuries appears to be life-threatening. That is the good news here. The perpetrator, though, is said to still be at large at this time. And we understand there are about 75 police officers on the scene at this time. It will take time to provide additional and perhaps more accurate information, but information will be provided as it becomes available. That is the latest and the official statement from the mayor of Wauwatosa. Again, as we watch an active shooter situation unfold this afternoon at a Wisconsin mall. So let's go back and I'll share some of what I've been able to gather just by watching this aerial feed. We've seen, by my count, 6 people brought out of the mall on stretchers. Again, just to reiterate though, the good news appears to be that all of the victims who have been shot in this situation have not been critically ill. These, at least the injuries, are not said to be life-threatening. We can also tell you that we just saw a tweet from the medical examiner in that area, and the medical examiner is not headed there for the mall right now, which again is another good indication. It would seem to imply that none of these victims have been killed at this point. But again, we're just trying to piece together some of what we're hearing, at least unofficially and unconfirmed at this point. But multiple people have been shot. To get back to my point, I've seen at least 3 come out, but as I understand, there were at least 3 who were brought out before those 3. The other good news is based on visuals and visuals only. All but 1 were on these stretchers, sort of upright, and seemed to be certainly conscious, and even in some cases talking with the paramedics. There were, at least early on, 3 ambulances that departed, another one that had arrived, and 2 more that had arrived after that. These ambulances are coming in from several nearby areas and helping load people in. Let's get to what we know or don't know about what happened. Based on witnesses I've heard from in coverage up in the Milwaukee area, there was at least 1 shopper who was on the 2nd floor of the Macy's store at the Mayfair Mall. That shopper was with her mother, heard the shots, and based on what we're hearing from witnesses, they both seem to concur that there were between 8 and 12 shots that were fired. There's the Macy's store right there, and as this helicopter shot starts to move around, you'll see what is a common entrance right there. And what you can barely see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen there is the Potbelly sandwich shop. That comes into play in a minute here, and I'll get to that in just a second. But the shooting itself appears to have happened in Macy's. And as we understand it right now, there are still people in the store who are taking cover and hiding, because as we understand right now, this gunman is still at large. Back to Macy's for just a second. As we understand, there was another witness who was nearby shopping in the store that would be right in front of the Potbellies there. That was the Eddie Bauer store, and this witness said that they heard what sounded like fireworks going off. That witness, again, saying it seemed like between 8 to 12 shots. That person rushed back into the Eddie Bauer, where the employee of that store told everyone that there had been shots fired and herded everyone toward the back of the Eddie Bauer and ushered them to safety into the Potbelly store, which is connected to the back of the Eddie Bauer in the mall, and then out into the parking lot where the witness at least was able to get into her car and drive away to safety. So that's where we are with the Macy's location and also with the Potbelly Mall as well. As for the shooter, as we said, we believe at this point that the shooter is still at large, and that is the latest information we have as well from the mayor, who has confirmed that the perpetrator is at large at this time. And it would also jive with some of what we have seen, which includes a number of officers who have gone into the mall here. By my count, there were at least 8 in a SWAT group and then another group of 6. There are officers, as you can see here, who are still arriving on the scene, and you can see all of the flashing lights of the first responders who are there. The other official word is that multiple SWAT teams are now checking the mall, but this is still, according to the mayor, an active shooter situation. We can tell you again that multiple people have been injured, but it appears that none of those injuries are life-threatening. There are a number of people who are in contact with loved ones outside of the mall, and those folks say they are still now in hiding inside the Macy's. We don't know where the gunman is, and that is why these SWAT teams are now checking the mall, trying to find that person. A couple of things come to mind as well here. Keep in mind, and I didn't realize this until after this shooting had happened, but there was a second, I should say another shooting incident at this particular mall in February, in which a city police officer shot and killed a 17-year-old. Police say that 17-year-old was fleeing from police, and that officer fired because the 17-year-old pointed a gun at him. The mall was the target of sporadic protests over several months in the wake of that shooting, but that was in February, and it's unclear if any of that is connected at all to this shooting today, just for your background information. I've just been handed some new information here. I just want to, okay, so I'm told now that the FBI in Milwaukee is also now on the scene and currently investigating. Another shooting did come to mind in the Milwaukee area as I watched this unfold, and it reminded me that it was back in February of this year. We had the shooting at the Miller Coors plant in Milwaukee. At that time, was said to be one of the worst in Wisconsin history. A gunman killed 5 people in that Miller Coors shooting and then killed himself. This one potentially has, at least numerically, the possibility of having more victims, although again at this point it does not appear any of those victims are dead or suffered any life-threatening injuries. This appears to be some more, yes, of the SWAT teams. As we said, there are multiple SWAT teams now that are checking the mall. It reminds me of another shooting, unfortunately, as we see these unfold, several of them start coming back to mind, where police in Chicago responded to a shooting at a factory in the Chicago area, and then as they do, have to go in and try to find what is the active shooter. So put yourself in their shoes for a minute. Imagine this is not a video game. You're literally going through a gigantic mall trying to find an active shooter. So that's what's unfolding right now at the Mayfair Mall, again, just west of Milwaukee and west of the suburb of Wauwatosa. Multiple injured victims, none life-threatening though. The shooter at this point still at large, and the FBI in Milwaukee is currently investigating. For those of you who are just joining us, I'll reset quickly and read the statement from the Wauwatosa mayor, who says the police department currently involved in an active shooter incident at Mayfair Mall in Wauwatosa. More information will be released as it becomes available and confirmed. Multiple injured victims have and are being transported from the north end of the Macy's department store. None of the victims' injuries appear to be life-threatening. The perpetrator is at large at this time. There are approximately 75 police officers on the scene at this time. This was as of about 4 o'clock this afternoon. It will take time to provide additional and perhaps more accurate information, but information will be provided as it becomes available. That, again, the latest statement from Dennis McBride, the mayor of the city of Wauwatosa. We continue to watch this situation unfold, and as we said, in a situation like this, it is often fluid. There are a lot of details that are unknown at this point, and it is tough to piece together, and it's tough for police and investigators as well to share the information that they do and don't know at this point, because obviously this is still a very active situation, and you can certainly tell that based on the number of police vehicles you see around there. We're told multiple SWAT teams are now checking the mall, trying to find this active shooter. That's a better look at the entrance right there to the mall and the Macy's store where this all happened. Again, at least one witness was in the Potbelly store, which is right next to that public entrance next to the Macy's. This is, I believe, in the northwest corner of the mall there. You can see it's a large, sprawling mall. There was another witness who said the crowd, at least in the Eddie Bauer store, was not holiday crowded, in her words, but still quite a few people there. And she was very quick to applaud the efforts of the employee in that Eddie Bauer store, who she said knew exactly what to do and ushered everyone who was in the store out through the back of the Eddie Bauer store and into the connected Potbelly store, telling them shots fired, this way, get out. Again, in her words, the employee seemed to know exactly what to do. Unfortunately, in this day and age, these are things that a lot of employees, especially in malls, have trained for in the past. And in just a quick search before we went on the air here, I found 2 mall shootings in recent history, one in December of 2007 at the Westroads Mall, where a 19-year-old used a semi-automatic rifle, opened fire, killing 8 people before killing himself. That was in Omaha, Nebraska. In 2007, in September of 2016, there was another shooting at the Cascade Mall. That's in Burlington, Washington. A 20-year-old gunman there was arrested the next day in his hometown of Oak Harbor, Washington State. 5 people were killed in that mall shooting as well. So that's what we know at this point. Again, it appears there are no fatalities here, but multiple people have been shot at the Mayfair Mall, again, west of Milwaukee and just west of the suburb of Wauwatosa. None of those injuries said to be life-threatening, and the perpetrator at this point is at large at this time. So you can imagine what is ahead for the law officers who have responded to this scene. It's a matter now of securing each area of this mall and then ushering out the people who are inside to safety in different areas, who really at this point likely don't have any idea what's going on unless they've been able to text with people on the outside who can tell them and fill them in. But we have heard from at least one witness who is still hiding in the Macy's store. So we will continue to follow this. We will update you as soon as we get more information on the active shooter situation at the Mayfair Mall in Wisconsin. Multiple people shot, none of the injuries thought to be life-threatening. More later right here on News Nation, and certainly the latest when we start our show tonight at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll see you soon.